Today we're going to summarize the book Crucial Conversation. Because in life, there's so many conversations we need to handle them because they normally influence us greatly. Just like the subtitle says, it's a tool for talking when stakes are high. And there are so many moments like this. For example, you're asking for a promotion, you want to end a relationship, you try to give your boss some feedback, or just comment on some mean coworker or your rebelling teen. All of those, it influence our life disproportionately. But the reality is, in this crucial moment, most people do their worst. The group of scientists and communication experts get together to do an experiment. They can predict which couple gonna divorce and which will have a happy marriage, just to see how they handle the crucial conversation. But the sad story is, if you look around how many people divorce, the official data is every two married couple, one of them can divorce. You will see how badly people handle the crucial conversation. If you look at the definition of this crucial moment, you understand why people behave their worst. They normally have high emotions, the stakes are high, and people normally disagree. And if people don't deal with them well, it only will develop. The lag time between problem and solved solutions will become longer and longer. And that's the reason why we see so many people divorce for some silly reason. For example, nobody cleaned the kitchen. That's the reason they divorce. When this kind of crucial conversation coming, most people doing two things. First is avoid them. People don't really actually dealing with them. People become a master of avoiding confrontations. And like we said, the lag time become longer, the problem become bigger. And even worse, lots of people instead talking out at the crucial moment, they acting out. They give other people cold shoulders, they use sarcastic. So until one day, they cannot hold anymore, they will go to the second approach, which is they don't deal with those conversations well. But I will give them some excuse because when there's a high emotion, people automatically just treat this conversation as a fight or flight. They treat this, it's supposed to be a social issue into a physical issue. And because of disagreement, people pump out a lot of adrenaline, which is make you fight, make your body shivering. And that even make this conversation become a surviving task, become some sort of a hunger game. And in the end, because the stakes are high, it gives you lots of pressure. So what actually happens when people handle this crucial conversation is they just go blank. They do what most people do, they just wing it. They pick up whatever they can think of. Because my mother speaks sarcastic, so I speak sarcastic right now with my husband. And after our brain go blank and weighing it, the result is only have one, which is we act like self-defense way. And as the book describes is, sometime in our doped up or dumbed down state, the strategy we choose to dealing with our crucial conversation are perfectly designed to keep us from what we actually want. We are our own worst enemy. And of course, this strategy is self-defense. Just like how you want to spend more quality time with significant others, but all you say is, oh, another late night, huh? I get more closer Facebook friend. The more snappy we are or sarcastic we are, the loved one actually want to get away from us, instead spend more quality time. And that's what we mean here. We are our own worst enemy. And because the problem not solving by this sarcastic, the lag time increase, the stake is higher, the problem is bigger. That's why some small conflict between peoples, it developed to a such big deal. And what we give example is only two-person dynamic. In organization, the problem is even bigger. One of the most shocking example is they go to hospital and, more or less doctor will do something wrong. They didn't put on the coat, they didn't wash hand before the surgery. What's the rate does the nurse will speak up about this unethical, break the rule behavior? The reality is, it's only 1 in 12 of nurse will speak up. And this silence or have a hard time to speak up in the crucial moments, it actually kills. And they use the same prediction to predict marriage to see company dynamic. They actually can predict which project gonna successful, which gonna fail 90% correct. Just see how people speak up in a crucial conversation. To have this set of skill is even mean to become the key opinion leader. This group of people, they can speak up in the crucial moment. They question the boss. They do the right thing. They influence the whole company even more than the supervisor. However, most people are not. Most people are sink in one dilemma, and the author conclude called the fool's choice. They think when this hard moment coming up, I either tell the truth and I may potentially break some relationship, or I keep it quiet and we all friend together. But the reality is completely opposite. You can only maintain the good relationship through it, not around it. 99% of the conversation break because one thing is safety. People don't feel safe to have a conversation. To have a conversation in this crucial moment, author use a metaphor. It's like a swimming pool. You have your 2 cents, I have my 2 cents. We have synergy together. We need a dialogue together. But when people don't feel safe, they either don't want to pour any water in the conversation. For example, lots of teenagers don't like to tell their parents whatsoever what's happening in their life. Even the smartest kid will do some wrong decision just because he's on his own. He don't have an outsider perspective. Or there's another end. Because safety is in risk, people force their opinion into the conversation. If you look at any arguing people on the street, well, you can tell they just yell at each other, never listen. It's like two people doing monologue. And we see this really often in company, especially for those people who have authority. They first raising their eyebrows, and they raise their finger, then they raise their voices. Because they don't feel safe, your suggestion, it turned from I don't like the idea to I don't like you. That's the reason why lots of bosses never listen, because they feel they're in risk. And here we are, the Hunger Games start again. So let's dive into step by step, how can we conduct a safe conversation that people can share whatever they wanted to respectfully and honestly. Most work done at preparation stage, and which is what this book was really good at. And the author even believe most conversation determined by the preparation, by yourself, not even dependent on other people. If you get this part done, 70%, conversation is already finished. First, you need to choose a good topic. Most people choose easy over hard topics. For example, they feel disrespect because how the person talk. Instead, talk about you have disrespect behavior. All they think about is, oh, I don't like your tone. Because talk about the tone is easier topic. Instead, just confronting you being disrespectful, you being unethical. Second, people choose the topic recent over right. Same example. People always talk about, oh, I don't like your tone because it just happened. But this behavior maybe is a pattern already. It being recurrent multiple times. But you only start talking about right now because you don't want to sound like you're nagging them. And when you choose a wrong topic, there's 3 main consequences. First, your emotion will escalate, especially frustration. You feel you're not getting the point. Second, when you finish the conversation, even then you get reached to agreement, you walk away with skepticism. Yes, we reach an agreement, but it feels like something wrong with it, right? Third, which is most common, is you always have deja vu on the same dialogue. You guys always go back to the same conversation. You guys always talk about the same issue. The same problem never resolved. So let's see how can we spot the correct topic. First, topic have 3 levels. Basic level is content, what you're just talking about, what just happened today. Upper level is pattern. Do you have this coworker always late for the work? It causes you some troubles. This person always say mean thing to you. And the highest level is relationship. I don't trust you. I don't feel you being honest with me. I feel you being cheating. Without picking the level, it's really hard to solve the problem. Lots of people get complained that you always start arguing with something happened before. The reason why people always talk about it is because you keep talking about the content. What happened yesterday? What happened last month? What happened last year? In reality, you want to talk about the pattern. It's repeatedly. It doesn't matter what happened last week. It doesn't matter what happened last month. I have this conversation is because it is a pattern I want to address. Or you want to talk about, you want to have more quality time with the loved one. And your loved one always feel you are so needy. Oh baby, I'm just, I have the whole day work. I cannot spend with you tonight. It is not about what happened tonight. It's always about the highest level relationship. I feel I need love. We need to build better love together. And of course, sometimes you don't just even pick the level. You even have to talk about the process. How we even conduct the conversation. For example, you can start the sentence with, hey, listen, I want to start this conversation with you. It's a pattern of you being late, right? You relevant by tell them what it is and what is not we're going to talk about today, which is the process of it. Now you know which level you want to talk about. You got to choose one. It's not the harder the better because you don't want emotional hijack other people. If it's just a silly mistake, treat it as a silly mistake. Don't just up to a distrust level to threaten other people. Because if you choose the wrong level, sometimes it will only make the situation worse. And last thing is simplify. Most people, you sit here, listen to them patiently for 20 minutes, you still yet understand what they try to say. And mostly because first, they don't really know what they want. That's the reason why we need a preparation. Second, they maybe have 3 issues tangled all together. That's the reason why we need to separate them one by one by one. And to address them one by one to be most efficient. Another reason why people don't simplify their topic, because they want to keep the topic in vague terms. So it's not that scary when we talk about it. It's not like a harsh confrontation. But of course, we never tell you to confront other people with what it is. This is only preparation. It's only keep to yourself to understand what I'm getting to today. And what we really need to be careful is when we start the topic, whatever we're choosing, be careful when the topic changes. Because lots of people try to avoiding the confrontation. You talk about the pattern, he's saying sorry for today, what happens? Or sometimes even some new problem will come out. And the author give us another tool, how to deal with those multi-problem conversation. You maybe talk to your workers, hey, listen, you being late for the data file. I want to talk to you about something pattern that happened. She may say something like, oh, I'm so sorry I didn't give you on time because I get harassed by this guy who sits right next to me, the coworkers. Apparently, this is a new issue that you never thought of. So when this kind of thing happens, we need to leave a bookmark. What do we mean by that? Is you as a manager, you should say, okay, you know what? Let's put a bookmark on the late data file. We will talk about you send me data late every time later. Let's focus on the sexual harassing you being experienced. Or of course, they may give you some excuses and you think it's not important. Put the bookmark on the excuses. Maybe you can solve later on. And that's how we pick a correct topic. Second preparation, after we know what's the topic, we are ready for any emerged new topic coming out. Second, we need to understand what is the goal of us. Lots of people ruin their conversation because they lost their goal, their purpose. Why they even step into the conversation in the first place? That day I was walking on the street, I saw this dad and a kid's conversation. The kids want more candy. Say, Dad, can you buy me more candy? The dad say, no, you had enough today. Immediately, the kids, instead try to persuade his dad, the kids become like, You're the most terrible dad I ever see. You're not a good dad. Do you see what's happening here? Is his purpose switched from get more candy to hurt the dad. And you think, oh, that maybe it's just a kid, and it's naive and all. But whatever the dad say after shocked me completely. The dad say, you know what? You speak to me in a disrespectful way. I'm gonna ground you. Instead, the dad need to teach the kid how to talk properly. He more care about to punish the kid because he feel embarrassed. And same thing happen over and over again, especially when emotions are high. We start labeling other people. We start saying hurtful things just to express the anger. And express the anger, of course, give us some benefit, but it's short term. But we are losing the long-term goal. Don't forget why we step in the crucial conversation is because the stakes are high. And in the same time, people will find themselves excuses when they say hurtful thing or change the topic. They will say something like, yeah, truth hurt, what am I gonna do about it? I'm just telling you the truth. And even lots of people will say, oh, I need to destroy her self-image so she can listen to the truth. And the author think all of those are manipulative, cheap shot that people use. But in reality is we will never forget that we need to keep on the same conversation that we started with. So when we sense our motivation is changing, what's the solution? Is we need to re-engage our brain to reactivate the higher complex part of our brain, instead treating this social issue as a physical. We need to ask ourselves some complex, abstract question. For example, what do I want ultimately for the long term? What do I don't want? I don't want to have this conversation make my significant others hurt. I don't want to give this feedback to my boss and I get fired. Of course, everything is easier said than done, especially when we feel scared, hurt, or even angry. Everything will change. Most time, the conversation will turn into argument. Start with this sentence, is he make me mad? And what should we do when we don't want to engage in the dialogue? We don't want to continue the conversation. It's some topic that we will never want to pick it up. And this book gives us a solution, is we need to deal with those hard emotions. Because most of the time, when those emotions happening, either we can act on the emotions or the emotion will act on us. That's the reason why lots of people, you find it hard to talk with them on certain topic because that's their sensitive topic, because they get dominant by their own emotions. End of the day, the author think you make yourself mad, you make yourself feel annoyed, you make yourself feel angry or sad. The reason why for it is other people, yes, give you the simulation, but most of the time, we're an independent person who responsible for our own emotions. And for the same thing happen, people may have a completely different reaction. Let me give you an example. When reading the book 7 Habits for the High Effective People, Stephen mentioned this example. One day he's really tired after work, he goes to the subway. There are some kids running around, harassing other people, and the dad is doing nothing. So he suddenly feels really mad, and he starts talking to the dad. Say, hey, what's happening? Why you not control your kid? But the dad's response really shocking him. The dad say, oh, I'm so sorry. The kids just lost their mother. So maybe they feel all over the place, so they don't know how to behave. I'm so sorry. Suddenly, Stephen feels really terrible to say such a thing. About the same setup, what he see, what he hear, but he can feel completely different after. Apparently we're missing something, the missing puzzle that change our feeling and our behavior. And this missing puzzle is called story. When people said, he make me mad, what happened in people's brain is they see something, they feeling, and they act on it. But in reality, it's actually we see something. We tell ourselves a story based on what we see. How we feel about the story, Then we go act on it. And that's the reason why most of the time authors say we make ourselves mad or sad or humiliated. One really big thing is people create story when they even not realizing. Just like the psychologist said, if you are not realizing the subconscious, that will become your destiny. If we don't realize what story, what's the program in our brain that we get triggered when we see something, we are stuck in certain feelings, certain behavior forever. You will see lots of people have the biased story, prejudged story. They judge you based on how you look. And they may stuck there forever just because they never realized that bias is a story they created. It's a pre-programmed. And of course, people who are watching this, you don't want this. And of course, lots of people listen to this, yeah, this is way too complicated, right? I have to change how I feel. What they're actually saying is, why can't I just simply blame other people and live an easy life? It's actually because this is represent our ownership as an individual. The reason why I really like this book and decide to share with you guys because you don't really need another party understand communication to have a good communication. Because this step, you have your ownership of your individual's emotions, behaviors. This is ensure how can I have the conversation going without other party understand. And most people have a 3 clever story. First, victim story. I'm an innocent sufferer. Whatever I experience, it's not supposed to be. They're the bullies. I'm late to submit my work to my boss, and he gave me criticize because he don't know how to cherish a person who oriented details. That's the victim story, and I'm sure you heard a lot. Second story is even more scary, called villain story. And I have to quote from the book of the villain story. Whatever we're telling ourselves is we actually dehumanize other people. We replace their name with label. Sometimes we even dehumanize the whole group of communities. And in the book says, villain story is all your fault. We create those nasty little tales by turning normal, decent human beings into villains. We input bad motive, and then we tell everybody about the evil of another party, as if somehow we're doing the world a huge favor. We ignore any of our villains' virtue and turn their flaws into exaggerated indictment. We understand the victim story because I can ignore what I do wrong in the problem. So what's the benefit that we're telling ourselves a villain story? The reality is to justify. Is I done something I feel I'm not supposed to. I feel I'm a good person. I shouldn't yell at him. I shouldn't beat him up. But because he's a villain, it's okay for us to insult him, to argue with him, or bully him. And if you see any conflict between organization or even nation, it all starts with villain stories. The third story we tell is helpless. There's nothing I can do. He's a control freak. How can I give feedback to the control freaks? I have to yell at my kid, otherwise my kid will never listen. This is the only way out. When we tell ourselves a helpless story, we're actually justified. This is wrong, but there's no way to be healthy and helpful. The scary part is, as a normal human being, normally we have these 3 stories mixed all together. I'm sorry I let my loved one down, but he is a stubborn, not flexible person. There's nothing I can do to make him happy. And I'm the only one who's stuck with this control freak. When we feel we have those stories, we need to be alert because sometimes it is correct. You are the victim, they are the villain, and there's no way out. But most time, we just justified our bad behavior, and that will cause tremendous harm to other parties, the people we actually care, to things that we don't really want to happen. And that's all preparation stage. If you understand what we just covered the past 20 minutes, 30 minutes, all the behavior is easy understandable now. And let's go to the actual conversation. In the actual conversation, there's a two-step. First, spot when the conversation is not safe. Second, how can I drag the conversation back to safety so we can exchange information whatever we wanted to. So first, let's say, how can we sense our safety is at risk? Or how can we recognize other parties' tactic to try to signal you, I don't feel to talk about this. When people don't feel safe in conversation, people have two mainly behaviors. First, silence. They may use tactic like masking. Masking is basically only tell you partial truth. They make a joke about it. They tell you sarcastic. They sugarcoat it. They tell you it's not that big of a deal, but they actually just scared to tell you the truth. They avoid it. They just fixing on one word. They don't want to talk about the topic. Or sometimes they make you mad on purpose so they don't have to have the confrontation of the real issues. Third, withdrawal. We see this too often. You ask them, why you're so quiet? They tell you, I'm fine. Don't talk to me. Nobody loves me anyways. That's the silence. It's not actually because they're being petty or they're the bad person or they're hard to deal with. The reality is you didn't create a safe environment for them. Second type of behavior is called violence. They want to control the conversation. They try to force their meaning into the conversation. They speak on absolute. They speak on exaggeration. No one in the world will think like that. Only a stupid one would. Second tactic they may use is actually labeling. None of the lawyers speak the truth. All of the doctor, all they want is money. They label you something and give you the villain story, so it's okay for them to start using the violence. And the third tactic most commonly is attacked. Only stupid people like you will come up with stuff like this, or such and such. We hear too many of them in heated arguments. When we spot, we see the signals, we hear the signals, we can tell another party's body languages. How can we drag the conversation back to safety? Or what is even safe conversation sounds like? The safe conversation have two characters. First, mutual purpose. Second, mutual respect. When we talk about mutual purpose, it's actually because we want to do something. We want to do the same thing. That explains lots of stuff because sometimes lots of people at work receive compliments of the boss. You feel uncomfortable. The truth is, because this compliment, it don't sound like mutual goal. It don't sound like a mutual purpose between the boss and me. It sounds like he's trying to manipulate me. He tell me you're doing a good job so I can do more for him. And when we feel you're telling me something, you're threatening me, you're using a cheap shot to push me to something, to benefit only you, I don't feel safe. Second, mutual respect. It's self-explanatory. If mutual goal or purpose is how we enter the conversation, why we start the conversation, mutual respect, it is what makes the conversation continue. When you feel the emotion is rising, when you feel people start give you the signal of not safe, probably you should re-look, did that give them enough respect? But mind you here, the most important word of both of them is mutual. I see so many people have a confrontation is, oh, whatever you do is good, we're good. You feel respected, I did it, but that's fine. No, the reality is even you yourself don't feel respected. The conversation wouldn't end up in a good place. So how to get the mutual, another really big issue we need to take care of. To have another point that I want to remind you is to have this kind of safe conversation, it doesn't mean comfortable. A lot of topic is really important for us that is not comfortable to bring it up. Sexual harassment, racism, or even just day-to-day conversation between couples. But as long as we have the common respect and go together, the conversation, it is safe, even if it's hard to continue. So how can we create the mutual goal and respect? There is a 4 tool that you can use. First is to state your purpose. Sometimes when you just brought up the issue, people already assume that we don't have a common goal. Hey, baby, I just want to talk about that we didn't spend much time together. When you say this sentence, another party may already feel you try to blame me for the issue. We don't have a mutual goal. You come here to tell me this is for me to change for your benefits. Now you can state your purpose. Hey, listen, I'm not trying to disrespect you. I try to reach a common goal between us. Second, apology. Lots of people feel ashamed to apology, but in crucial conversation, because emotions are high, it is so common to say wrong thing, to make disrespectful comments, to slip something hurtful. We need apologies on time also to ensure the conversation can continue so we still have the mutual respect and mutual purpose. Third, contrasting. You want to use the contrasting to show what you actually try to say and what you don't want to say, because sometimes communicate mutual is really, really hard. And the fourth one is create a mutual plan. Lots of people, when we talk about mutual purpose, people think we're going to do certain things, but that's not true. We have to figure out what's the difference between want and purpose. I want to go out today, but that may be not my purpose. Maybe my purpose is to get away from the messy house. So how to create the mutual plan will determine how safe people feel in the conversation. Of course, in the end, people give us a structure, and I will read an example how to use the structure. The structure the author gave us called STATE, S-T-A-T-E. S represents share your facts, what you see, what you heard. T is tell your story. Tell them what's your guessing, what's your inference. A is for asking other people's path. T is talk tentatively. And the last E is encourage testing. And I will read an example of how do people use STATE method to communicate. Little background story is the mother found the kids stealing her money. And this is what she said to confront the daughter as a crucial conversation. The mother started with sharing facts. Amber, when I went to pay for the grocery just now, I was planning to use $40 I thought I have in my wallet. But when I opened my wallet, the money wasn't there. I thought it was strange because I saw it there yesterday. Then I remember you asked me for some money last night to go out with your friend. I told you no, and you end up going to a movie and dinner with them anyways. And here we come to the story part. Obviously, one possibility is that you took the money. Then the mother going to ask for other people's path. Honestly, I don't know what to think. All I know is what I just shared. I hope you can see how I may at least have some question, do you? And the daughter, of course, said, yeah, well, I can understand. The mother used the contrasting to show what she really tried to convince. Amber, honey, I know you're a good kid, and I don't want to jump into a hurtful conclusion. I also know people make mistakes. I did when I was your age. I want us to be able to talk about things, even hard things, honestly and openly, even when one of us has messed up. Imagine if you steal some money and your mother communicate in such a way. I'm sure it will be more successful than just confronting the daughter, shouting at her right out of the grocery checkouts. When we explored other people's path, there is a really interesting thing is most people argue over 5% of the conversation. Even then, they agree with 95. So in the end, another set of tools that author gave us called ABC method. It's actually first, agree. Try to agree what we agree on, the 95% that we agree. Maybe we agree on the end goal, just we want to take the different approach. Then B, build on. Based on what we agree, maybe we can inference this is the better choice. And we eventually will move to C, contrast. Oh, your way is this way, my way is this way. Let's see, can we have a mutual purpose? And how can we get an honest, respect dialogue between you and me? And in the end of the conversation, we need to move the conversation into actions. And it's the same we've been talking about. Determine who does what by when. Make the deliverable crystal clear. Set a follow-up time. Record the commitment, and finally hold people accountable. And this may sound a business approach, but even with the loved one, we need to make the deliverable. We need to do the follow-up in case the problem will not recurrence. And here we have the whole book. In the end, I feel the whole book is talking about the conversation. But conversation is just a tool to spot those crucial moments that change our life completely. And to the end of the day, the book is not actually teaching us some words you should say, threat people into some agreement with us. It's actually to be a great person to handle all this conversation. And in the end, I really hope this book helped you. Crucial conversation. My name is Paul. I see you next time. Thank you so much.